Afternoon, anybody who's joining right on time. We're going to just leave a couple of minutes for people to join, but if you're brave and want to introduce yourself, please do so in the chat and we'll answer back or chat to you there. And also we have a poll that we are, if you want to fill in, which take just a couple of minutes, please do, which will go up on the screen. So do feel free to do that, and we'll let you know as soon as we start properly. We'll just let a few others join. Thank you. So anybody who's just joining, we're just saying, do introduce yourself on the chat if you want to, and fill in the poll whilst you're waiting, and we'll be ready to start in not a few minutes, in another minute max. We're just waiting for a few others to join. Thank you. And also you should have noticed that we're recording the webinar, so we'll be able to share that afterwards with everybody who attends. So you'll be able to watch it again and make notes. So that's all fine. And if you want to make any questions to me or Karen as we go along, do put them in the Q&A, and any technical questions, as well as introducing yourself if you fancy it, do add to the chat. So I'm going to kick off, just because I don't know about you lot, but I don't like waiting for webinars to start. So anybody who joins in can join in a little bit late. So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, me and Karen, and we're going to be sort of co-hosting this and joining in with each other's comments. So just so you know, we've got quite a spread of audience attendees. So we had some who are visiting NOPI, some who are exhibiting at NOPI, and others who just want to hear more about the market in the UK. So we're going to try and cover off all of that as we go through, with more generic information about entering the UK market. But first, we thought we'd start off with quick introductions on Karen to start, and then on me and Rochester PR.
Hi, thanks, Joanna. My name's Karen Green. Some of you, I think, already know me, but those who don't, I work with food and drink companies mostly in the UK. This photo is myself and Niche Coco, who came over for IFE actually last year, and I do some work with the UN, and we were working together on that stand. I work with a number of different food businesses, doing some consultancy, training, coaching, mentoring, depending on the needs, but the focus is very much about getting them into retailers, and these are some examples of some of the people that we've got listings with: Costco, Smiths, Tesco's, M&S, lots of different retailers and food service. And I think I've certainly been to all the major food expos. I've spoken at most of them, and I've had the misfortune or fortune to have to set up a couple in my time. So you'll be benefiting from quite a wide range of experience, certainly from me, and of course from Joanna. Do you want to say hello and introduce?
Thanks, Karen. Yeah. So Joanna Dodd, and I'm Managing Director of Rochester PR Group. So like Karen, we do a lot in the food and drink sector, but we specialise really in international brands entering the UK market, or new brands entering the UK market, i.e. could be homegrown. And we work across what we call everything in the market entry space. So from when people are first maybe researching the UK market, to getting slightly more involved, which is when we might hook up with Karen and do some work together. And then also working out what the messaging should be for this market and for the media. We do a lot of media relations campaigns, a lot of social media. It's not the only thing we do, but we do a lot of work in that space. And as I say, that's across food and drink as well as lifestyle brands. So a very broad sort of area of drink, food and drink, across right the way through to eco-friendly home interest sort of brands. But I think we're going to talk mostly about food and drink, but to be honest, it's all applicable depending on what you need to do. And the first thing that we would say you need to do, and Karen, chip in, but I would say one of the biggest mistakes, if we have to call it that, is that a lot of companies have done some initial research into the UK market for sure. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming to shows like this, or they wouldn't be, thinking about the UK market. But I would say the vast majority have never quite done enough research into the UK, and that can be on various different things. It can be about the UK retailers, the landscape. We're going to talk about that in a moment. It can be to pinpointing your exact consumers, and that becomes really important when you're pitching your product. And Karen's going to be talking later about, how to do a brilliant pitch, but also obviously incredibly important for us on the PR and marketing front, because if we don't know who your consumers are, can't reach the right people. And then also research to understand what the trends are, because I was looking earlier today, there's loads of research, obviously, and it changes all the time. So it is really important that what you looked at maybe 6 months ago when you first started thinking about the UK, you should actually refresh and have another look, because it may have changed, or things may have come out that are particularly relevant to you and your brand. So I was just going to add to that. It's something I've spent the last 2 days doing for a client actually in Australia, and I know this market inside out, but it's a completely different product for me. And I can't believe how long it's taken me. It's been 3 days of in-depth work, both visiting all the stores, looking at the different sections, and and then doing the desk research as well. So it's to do it properly is no mean feat, actually. You're absolutely right. I'd really agree. And the number of times we have brands where we're meeting them virtually nowadays, as you say, Australia or whatever, and you sort of say, have you seen, what the aisles look like in wherever nowadays? And they won't have seen them because they haven't been over recently or whatever. So it's incredibly important. So we've got some data here. This is from the Soil Association, who produce a fabulous report every year about the organic market. NOP is natural and organic products, and that's quite a broad definition. So it's quite difficult to pull out exactly the data. As Joanna said, it's not just food, it's toiletries, textiles, the whole caboodle. But this gives you some sort of introduction, I think, because as you may be aware, if you're based in the UK or not, the UK is going through a tough time at the moment. There's a lot, like most of the rest of the world, lots of inflation, energy costs going up, and people are tightening their belts. But the encouraging thing from the data is that actually organic is doing well. And although the supermarkets, as you can see there, are down 2.7%, other areas are showing massive growth. Food service up 152%. The independents are down, but that's not a surprise. But textiles up 35%, and beauty and wellbeing up 6.8%. So there are opportunities within organic, and I kind of think, well, if organic's doing well, then people are still making those wellness decisions. And you can see on the right-hand side some of the categories within food that are doing well, things like dairy, baby, and something like 65% of baby is organic. So it's a huge area of opportunity. I think that kind of covers our organic is doing well in the UK summary. And just to give you an idea about, because often, and again, Karen, I don't know whether you agree, but often when we're seeing organic or natural products, they do talk about maybe going into some of the independents, but they also have got an eye on some of the bigger retailers. And this is taken from Kantar. So it doesn't monitor everybody, but just to give you an idea of the different sizes of the supermarkets at the moment. And one of the things that obviously has been happening here a lot is seeing people like Aldi and Lidl starting to creep in and take more share. Co-op Waitrose, Morrison's are well known for being sort of more the organic supermarket. So it is, again, something that's worth you knowing and visiting and having a look round And we were talking to an organic brand the other day and saying, yes, you should go and look at Boots as well, which was not a retailer that they knew of in the UK. So as I said, it's always worth you doing that little bit more research and understanding it a bit more. A couple of other things that we think, Karen and I, that are quite important to sort of share with you is that we do have a really strong private label market here in the UK. So for some of you, for some companies, actually that might be the route in that you're very interested in rather than the branded route. So we do have a lot of private label, and within a supermarket itself, actually more than one range of brand own label, and we are hugely promotional heavy. So it's again something for you to be aware of. This market, there are a lot of promotions, brand promotions going on all the time, particularly in the retailers. But again, that would be something that you would want to factor into your thinking and your pricing and your market strategy. So it is a great market. There's no doubt about it. The UK, we always talk about it being a really great market to enter. It is very receptive to innovation, actually. I think that's really true. And we are very receptive, I think, again, Karen, you'd agree, for international food brands as well, international brands. We do very open to, you know, looking at the new and you know, taking it on and buying it. So it is a good market for you, but there are things that you'd need to think about. Obviously, you'd need to think about your pricing and the margins that are expected by some retailers. You'd have to think about that for your brand. And really the job that Karen was talking about earlier, that she does a lot of, is understanding your route to market. So how are you going to enter, and which retailer, and do their positioning and objectives match with yours? And do you know them very well? And then if it's, you know, if you're talking about food, there are different ways that a food brand could be positioned in one of the retailers, for example. So you could be on a world food aisle if you're an international brand, or you could come in as a mainstream brand, or you could sit purely on organics. So there are lots of different things for you to think about in terms of your research. And then, you know, there isn't just the one option for the right way into the UK. So as I said, and you know, it's really worth doing a bit more research. So if you think you've done all your research, I'd almost say think again and just be really sure you have. The other thing that I think is really worth looking out for is sort of what your competition in the very broadest sense might be doing, and what trends you can pick up from that. So perhaps not surprising as a PR person, that I'd say read as much as you can, find it, Google, find out what's happening in the UK. If you know particular brands that are competitive to your brand, then have a look at what they've done. But then also there's some great stories that you can find about founders who talk about their brands and how they got into retailers here in the UK. So worth having a look at that. And also, you know, finding out what the latest trends are. As I said earlier, you know, that does change, and there's usually, you know, new statistics coming out, or new data coming out from polling companies talking about, you know, attitudes to organic and natural products. So the more that you're up to date with that, the easier you're going to find it is to have those conversations with potential retailers, and to sound very knowledgeable about the UK market. So in terms of that, as I say, think about your UK consumers. Might be exactly the same age demographics as, you know, from your home territory, but often aren't. And it's really important to have a look at what the latest data trend is showing in terms of who's buying what. So, for example, more generally, not just really on organic and natural, but you know, often the older generation is seen as being, well, the younger generation is seen as being the early adopters, and that's often true. But actually, if you want people with time and potentially more money on their hands at the moment, there's often a great segment of the population that have got time to go out and discover new brands, and maybe are not so loyal to one specific supermarket, and will go and travel to look around and have the disposable income. So again, the more that you deep dive into that really understand what your UK consumers are likely to be, the better you're going to pitch your product when you come to talk to prospective retailers. So worth doing a little bit more research. On to Nopi.
So just before we get into Nopi, just going back to the thoughts about research, if you're sitting there going, well, it's great, yeah, great, I'll do some research, where am I going to research? Couple of thoughts. Google alerts are great. So if you are looking at a marketplace, looking at competitors, looking for news on your subject, I would be setting up Google alerts. I have quite a few of my own that pop into my inbox every day. And then if you are looking for UK specific data and you don't want to invest the tens of thousands of pounds into Kantar or Nielsen or Mintel data, the grocer is a really good source of information. The subscription is about £200. So it's worth it if you are researching a specific market. If you're coming to the UK or you're in the UK, I can't speak highly enough of the British Library. They hold lots of reports on Mintel and Statista and another report you can run to find all the retailers that you might be looking for. It's a really good source of information. So and then obviously Joanna is a vast source of information, and I have loads of data as well about supermarkets. Kantar only reads the main grocers, but Boots sit within another area, Holland and Barrett, that you might be interested in. And then the smaller guys, people like Whole Foods and Planet Organic, we have lots of data on all of those, so we can share that with you. So it's there is hope.
Loads, yeah, there is loads, yeah.
It's really a question, and we'll obviously put contact details at the bottom. It's just a question of reaching out and asking the question that you're thinking about. So so that kind of leads me on to NOPE, which obviously, as we say, is the Natural and Organic Product Expo, which is coming up 16th and 17th of April. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So I'm going to take you through my thoughts for preparing for this. As I say, I've done quite a few shows in my time, and I'm getting several clients ready at the moment for exhibiting, and it's hard work. There's a lot of work to do, especially if you're coming over from overseas. Obviously, there's the basics to do in terms of booking accommodation and making sure you've got your stand sorted out. But before you do all of that, and probably actually I like to do it before you even book your expos, be clear of your objectives, because Joanna's absolutely right. You've got to research your marketplace and say, well, actually, where do I want to sell my products? Is it food? Is it non-food? If it's food, is it going into retailers? Is it going into food service? Is it restaurants? Is it bars? Is it cafes? If it's non-food, again, where am I going to sell it? There's some great options there. People like TK Maxx, Lakeland are a great one. So many different places that you could be selling your product. So that's the first thought that you have to have, because once you're clear on your route to market, you can then say, well, actually, the best conference for me, and we'll use NOPE because that's what we've decided to talk about today. NOPE is the right one because it's natural and organic, because the people you're looking for, and we're going to highlight Boots, Holland and Barrett and Whole Foods, because those are the three buyers where you can actually go and apply to pitch for them. And there's lots of opportunities there still. So when you're thinking about your show, you need to think about what do you want to achieve when you get there. So the retailers or the outlets, the customers you want to find is important, but then what kind of customers? So NOPE has what I call mum and pop shops come along, especially on the Sunday. I'm actually speaking on the Sunday about how to improve retail sales. So I'm actually talking to that group of people. But obviously there'll be wholesalers, there'll be the bigger retailers coming as well. So who are you actually trying to recruit? But also, and we'll talk about this later on, what else do you want to get from the show? You might be here and you might not be exhibiting. You might be investigating it for next year. You might be going to network. You might want to attend seminars. But before you go, what do you actually want to achieve? So I think that's really critical. And I really think it's something people don't do well. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the next key point is, what is it that you have to sell? And I use the phrase unique value proposition because I think each word is really important. So what makes you unique? What makes you stand out? And I've chosen these two pictures deliberately. They're not just pretty to fill up the space. Ritter is famous for being square, basically. And having the bright colors, and I absolutely love this design because, you know, they've taken the packs and they've built the display out of the packs. You've got bright colors, you've got the key messages, and on the other side you've got Moju, which is very different. Wake, shake, boom, energy, excitement. A key selling point, UK's #1 rate of sale in juices and smoothies. So that's pretty impressive. You kind of go, well, that's interesting. So they've really pulled out the unique value proposition. And I think especially if you're creating a stand, and, you know, for NOPE, hopefully you've got a bit of time, but going forward, try and simplify the message for your stand and think about the fact that people are walking by. And when you design a stand, and I've just designed a banner for IFE for me, people are going to stand over there and they won't be able to read all the lovely things you've put on it. You want one message, and that has to be the unique value proposition. So all that work you've done and all that research should distill out what that unique value is. And that's something, you know, we can help you with if you kind of go, well, I've got all these things, what's important? And we help you pull out what is important to that particular show, because it will vary. What do you think, Joanna?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Absolutely. It's so important because people, and also you see it, don't you, when you see people wandering around the show, people actually often steer clear of stands and they sort of looking as they're going past, and then they'll go back if they're really, you know, so people won't always walk on. So actually having something that's going to attract people and be very clear what it is super important. Yeah. So I was just going to talk a little bit about building brand awareness, which Karen and I both believe is hugely important. And obviously for us as PRs, you can do this at any and all stages of market entry. So before if you're attending a show, or, you know, when you're there or when you're launching. So it's something to think about all the time. And for us now, sort of PR traditionally has always been seen as media relations and social media, which it is, but actually we sort of moved into this paid, owned and shared media thinking about PR and what you can do, and it's a really useful. It's not ours. There's the source there, but it's something that you'll see all over the internet if you Google it, and it's really just talking to you about the different ways that you can promote your brand, your company, and some of them are going to be, you know, much more likely to be used at different stages of a brand's awareness. And some of it's going to be further down the line. Some of it's going to cost you more money because it might include some influencer marketing and some paid for promotions. And some of it might be to do with some research that you're going to generate about how many people, you know, buy your brand or whatever it might be. But there's some good examples here, some of which, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later on, so I won't go through it all now, but some of which is all to do about sort of getting ready for the show. So how you can get in touch with people, maybe, you know, under email marketing and things like that. So as I say, you'll see this when you want to take a picture, when you want to watch it again. But there's a lot of things to think about. One of the things that we always say to brands is often they've forgotten what they've done in their home territory when they're launching in the UK, because that might be a few years down the line. But actually, if you can, it's really worth going back. What worked for your brand in your home territory? What was really successful when you first launched it? What really helped you stand out from the crowd? And then can that be, with all the information you now know about the UK, can that be replicated in the UK? So sometimes actually it's about reusing ideas that you had 2-3 years ago and adapting them for the UK. And sometimes it's saying, actually, we do need to do this completely differently here. But building brand awareness is super important at all stages of your brand coming into the UK market, and engaging with people and telling them, sharing, as Karen just said, your unique value proposition. You've got to be sharing and telling your story at all stages. Anything else you want to say there, Karen? Or
LinkedIn and
all
LinkedIn.
Super important. So any social, whether it's B2B or B2C, really important nowadays. Absolutely.
And I think the run up to an event like this is so critical. And I've just been doing a session with a client, and he's literally got 12 followers on LinkedIn, and I said, this is not enough. We've got to get this up. We really need to increase it. And I think to be show ready, I do have a checklist, and we'll put my email in the chat, and if you want to just drop me a line and I'll send it to you. I've been using this now for I think 3-4 IFEs, and I get it out every year and dust it off. It's a bit like your Christmas list, and it goes through basically what do we need. So the basic things like making sure you've got all the stand set up. A lot of people who are coming over to NOPI are going to be on country stands, so hopefully a lot of the setup will be done. But if you've got to set up your own stand, or even if you're going on to a country one, think about what do you need to bring with you, in terms of it's obvious, but it's just ticking them off. If you're making any leaflets, what kind of leaflets are you going to have? What's the message going to be? Value proposition, the whole piece that we've talked about before. Are you bringing displays with you, or are you ordering them and they're going to be there? What samples do you need? It's a question I'm always asked. How many samples should we bring? And the more samples you can bring, the better. But I don't want, that can be a massive on cost. So you don't want to be handing out loads of samples to people, but certainly have samples or things that you can demonstrate so people really understand your business. What else can you put on the stand that creates interest? So one of the chocolate companies brought a video. In fact, 2 of them brought videos and a real introduction to the business. They had an iPad playing. So obviously you're going to play an iPad for 3 days, you're going to need electricity. So make sure you've ordered some electricity, because these shows do not give it away for free. Make sure you've got the tie-in with the show organizer. So the show organizers have manuals, they have PR, they have all sorts of great stuff. They need you. So they need you to be sharing what you're doing. They need you for your stories. They need you for the innovation. So make sure that you are on their radar when you're going through everything that you need to do before the show. As I say, make sure you've got a plan, a building awareness plan, so that you're counting down to the show and you're putting it out on social media. You've done the press releases to the trade press. Again, if you need a list of trade press that's relevant, then give Joanna a ring or drop her a line, because she's the expert on this. And then again, a list of what I call the basics. So bin bags, sticky tape, blue tack, and chargers. Those are the things that we all seem to go, we haven't got enough of. And then think about who's going to be on the stand, because you can get very tired. Stands are incredibly tiring. If it's just you coming, there isn't a lot you can do about it. But if you're in the UK, or you've got people you can bring on, I know I brought my daughter actually to an IFE, the last one, because I didn't have enough people one day. So that was really great. She came on and helped me support. And then make sure, and this is again, it seems obvious, but make sure you've got the right clothes. This is not a formal dressed up affair. So comfy shoes and layers, because I have frozen at a show and I've boiled at a show. So make sure you've got layers, and if it's appropriate to your brand, then branded clothing that stands out, so that at least even when you're walking around the show, people know who you are. What else can I say? And then also NOPI, I think you have to pay for NOPIs, but sign up for their scanners, because it's so critical. If you don't, at least make sure you've got some way of gathering the information, and also making notes, because trust me, by the end of day 2, you will not remember the lady that came and asked you on day 1. You just won't. So you just need to, I usually put little notes like, oh, she was wearing red or pink hair or something that just helps me to remember who that person was if I think they're going to be really important. But as I say, I've got a great checklist that I can share with you that breaks it down into pre-show, during show and post-show, so you can go through it in some detail. But
I think the other thing, Karen, is you touched on there about wear the comfy clothes and blah, 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 and who's on the stand, but actually there's nothing worse than seeing people on the stand who look like they're embarrassed to be there or are tired out. It's true though, isn't it? You've got to welcome everybody on, because you just don't know, that person could be, before you can spot or scan them, as Karen says, you don't know, they could be the right person for you, that's just going to introduce you to the buyer you need or whatever. So the people on their phones and sending emails, it's not going to work. People won't join you on your stand, I don't think. So
no, you're so right. And you can walk around these shows and you'll see people and they're just sitting there, and they've got the phone. I mean, ideally I wouldn't have seats, apart from the fact I get exhausted after standing up for 2 days. So I do like a stool, but I actually have stools, not seats, because if you sit down, you slump down, you get an email, and like you say, you're
starting.
That's it. And people will walk past. You have got to be on. And I think you're right. You have to, if you are bringing a team, or you've got somebody who's maybe not part of your team that's coming in for the day, please train them on what to say. What's your point of difference? Make sure they know, you coach them on the first few people, so you're confident that they're going to be a compliment to your brand. Because as Joanna says, the key person will be there when you go to the loo. Okay, so optimizing the show. So we've kind of talked a lot about if you're an exhibitor, but what about the other things that are at NOPI? So this is very specific for NOPI. So if we can move on to the first level of that, which is meet the buyer. So NOPI has this fabulous opportunity where you can go and meet the buyer, and the key ones that are going to be there are Holland & Barrett, Whole Foods and Boots. And for the sharp-eyed amongst you, you will notice that they were not on Joanna's list. So Joanna's was grocery, and that's what Kantar read. Kantar do not read Boots. Boots do not give them the data, and they don't read Holland & Barrett. So Boots is a pretty substantial health and beauty retailer and pharmacy chain. I was shocked when Joanna told me the story that this person hadn't heard of them. I actually worked for Boots for 14 years as a buyer. So I'm like, doesn't everybody know Boots?
Exactly. Yeah, no, not everybody.
And what I've done there is I've said, well, what's their mission statement? So one of the important things is to find out what they're looking for, and their mission is to be the first choice for pharmacy, health and beauty, caring for people, customers and communities. They have a lot of stores because they are the local pharmacy for a lot of communities in the UK. So they've got over 2,000 stores. If you're bringing a food product in, meal deal is really important to Boots. You can sell food to Boots and not have it in the meal deal if it doesn't fit, but it really is, if you're not in the meal deal and you've got a snack, a drink or a chilled option, then you do need to be in the meal deal, and it's very strict on margins. And if you want any information on that, get in touch. But they do have obviously a whole wealth of different food and non-food toiletries. They're very strong as well. I had a look at their website, and they are asking people to use Range Me for sourcing the products. So if you are interested in Boots and you want to kind of get ahead, you can go on to Range Me /Boots. And we will be sending these slides out, sharing these slides, so you can have all this information, but take a picture of that, because I think that's quite important if Boots are of interest. And obviously I have a lot of experience with Boots if you want to ask any questions. I'm going to go from right to left because I've started on the right hand side. In the middle we've got Whole Foods. They are obviously, it's a subsidiary, UK subsidiary, but they locally source here in the UK. Their definition is eco-minded chain with natural and organic grocery items, housewares and other products. Our purpose is to nourish the people and the planet. For food, they have a list of unacceptable ingredients. Again, I do have that if you would like to have a look at it. So there's some preservatives, some odd things as well that you wouldn't expect to see, which I can't think off the top of my head now. They're not huge. The great thing about Whole Foods is they are a showcase for you in the UK if you are looking to grow your business, and because the buyers from the bigger retailers tend to go and have a look at Whole Foods, so it's an opportunity to be seen. They have 7 stores in the UK plus Deliveroo, and I was listening to a seminar by one of their buyers the other day, and Deliveroo is actually their 4th biggest store, if that makes sense. So they obviously have some online opportunities as well. They have a website with some information on how to apply. There is an application process that you have to go through. And then we have Holland and Barrett. I have got listings for clients in Holland and Barrett. They are the leading health and wellbeing store. This is their definition, not mine. They focus on vitamin supplements, sports nutrition, natural beauty, gluten-free and vegan. They are pan-European, but they do source for the UK, and they do also have an online business, which obviously became much bigger during not the recession, the pandemic. There are some things, some kind of be carefuls that I will say about Holland and Barrett. Their margin expectations are high. They're not really going to get out of bed for less than 50%, which is okay. But unfortunately, what they're also famous for is the penny sale. So buy one, get one for a penny. They like to see you maintain those margins. So suddenly a 50% margin, it might seem okay on a reasonable retail, but if you're actually doing it at half price, it suddenly becomes very, very painful. They also have a website. I actually, when we sold to Holland and Barrett, they actually approached us, which is very interesting, and that is a testament to the amount of awareness building that had been going on with that brand at the time, and the fact that we were in a market they were very interested in, which is keto. So having said all that, they are at NOPI. If you want to go and see one of these buyers and pitch to one of these buyers, it's a fabulous opportunity. And if you haven't got a stand and this is where you want to go, then I would certainly suggest you get in touch with the NOPI guys, because they do have some startup launch packages, which are ridiculously expensive. So
also, okay, just on that awareness thing, I was just going to say, Karen, you know, where you were talking about it earlier about LinkedIn and everything else, it is true nowadays, everybody will search for you. So if they're interested, they are going to Google you and they're going to find you everywhere, whether it's your website or whether it's your LinkedIn or whether it's your social. And one of the things I noticed when I was just at the weekend taking a look at the NOPI website was there's still quite a few exhibiting companies who haven't filled in their profiles properly, which is a real missed opportunity. Yep. You know, so on your get show ready, you know, as you said, engage with them, but do those basics really well, because when you look at, you know, if I'm Googling, you know, a company, and you look at, and you can see everything about its brand, and you can see its, you know, visual identity, and you can see its products, and then you move on to the next exhibitor and there's just the name, you're not giving yourself as much chance of people who are going to be researching it. Some of the buyers will be researching who's there, who's exhibiting, you know, if you're lucky enough for them to come towards you, but you're not giving yourself a great chance if you're not on there. So, and going back to your point about LinkedIn and having a few followers, people notice, you know, people do notice that. They notice it on social. So it is worth investing some time in your brand.
It is.
Was it recently that we were talking about that 7 hours of content? And
7 hours of content, 11 times in four different places.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing just to mention, because this has happened to 2 of my clients, if you're coming on an international country funded stand, You do, and you haven't sorted out your exhibitor details. Give those people a bit of a kick, because I have one in particular who, and I'm like, you're still not on the website, and they're like, yeah, well, it's the, I won't mention the country, it's the country stand, and I'm like, well, you need to speak to the country stand advisors and get that sorted. So that might be a reason you're not there, and if it is,
yeah,
I think country stand managers here.
I do think country stands are sometimes, they are quite challenging. I think, talking about, you have to work almost even harder on a country stand than you do if you have your own, because there's other brands around you, and you tend to have smaller spaces. So you do have to attract attention, work harder to attract attention, I think.
And you're not with your brothers and sisters. So if you're, if you're a honey and you're on the Australia stand, and all the other honeys and healthy things are over on the other side, the buyer is going to go to the honey section. They're not going to come to Australia unless you go, you've got honey here, honey's here too.
Yeah, visit me.
So I put this slide in because we don't actually know how long the pitch is going to be at NOP, but we know that there will be a short period of time. And again, this is just a freebie that I designed. Gosh, I probably designed it for Bread and Jam, for those of you who are based in the UK, a couple of years ago, but it still really holds true. And basically it goes through how to do a 10-minute pitch. And during the pandemic, I got very good at coaching people on the 10-minute pitch, because we were doing a lot of them, and it was on Zoom, and it was like 9 minutes and 59 seconds, and the buyer would just press the button and that would be it, they'd be gone. It's harder for them to do that in a physical space, but still it's good practice to work out what to do with a 10-minute pitch. And if you go through the detail, it's around, obviously preparation is the key, all the stuff that we've talked about already, all the good stuff that Joanna's talked about in terms of the research, the rationale. Presentation, I had somebody say to me yesterday, it's okay, I'm ready for this presentation. This is one on Thursday. I've got 8 slides for my 10-minute presentation. I'm like, no, you don't want 10 slides. You maybe want 2 or 3, and you probably don't want slides at all, frankly, but I always do them because it's good structure. And it gets my mind in order. But basically what you want to be doing is putting together I say it's a 6-stage process. So what's the umbrella, what's the background, what's the area of growth and opportunity, or even decline? This market's declining, but we've transformed it. So what's that overall global piece? Then underneath it, this is how we fill the slot across the world or locally. And then you are tailoring it, and the tailoring is so important for the person you're speaking to. So if it's Holland & Barrett, you can say, if you use the example of keto that I mentioned, keto is in massive growth. We have these great keto products which sell really well in Whole Foods and Planet Organic. And this is why it would work so well with you. We can offer you some good margins. We've got this kind of PR, this kind of stuff. And then if you're doing a 10-minute pitch, and probably if you're doing anything anyway, you need to practice. And I usually suggest, 3 to 4 minutes maximum presentation, which gives them time for questions. And then obviously the next P is the pitch. So how do you do a pitch well? As I say, keep well on time, read the buyer, ask them questions. You are there to use that 10 minutes. Be mindful that the 10-minute pitch is not a 10-minute sell. You are not going to, if you sell it, absolutely fantastic. And please let me know, because it'd be a really good case study for me. I've done a 7-day sell, but I haven't done a 10-minute sell. And the critical piece, what you want to get from the end of your 10-minute pitch is contact details, name of the buyer, and a call to action, next steps. And then perseverance, which Joanna is going to talk about a bit more in later on. Persevere, because as I say, I've managed to do this in 7 days. I've also taken 2.5 years. So that gives you the span of how long it can take to convert. If you want that little ebook, email me, karen@foodmentor.co.uk, and I'll ping that over to you. No probs. Okay. What else can you do at NOPI? So they have the innovation showcase. So if you have new things, they've got a food, a health and a beauty category. The list is there. If you go onto the website, it doesn't look as though you can enter yet, but I'm sure you can. And they will have an area within the show where if you are shortlisted, you will be on the physical stand. So they'll ask you for samples, and that's really good exposure. And you'll see a lot of people go and look at that. And, you know, there's press people, show people, buyers, the whole 9 yards. So it really, I can't stress enough, it's free. It's not going to take you super loads of time. Well, I don't know because I haven't seen the entry form, but I doubt if it will be that complicated.
And there's these sort of awards from almost all the shows now, aren't there? Which is great. So yeah. If you're going to be there, take advantage of it.
Yeah, I do, because I mean we did Farm Shop and Deli with Heart and Soul nut butters last year, so whenever that was, in the early summer, and April actually, anyway, and they won a gold for their product, a gold and a bronze. PR'd it, they got a beautiful piece of coverage in the grocer, and Booths got in contact, which is a 29 stores in the north, and they're listed in Booths now. So, you know, I do like show awards, especially if they're free and they're not too arduous to enter.
No, absolutely. No, they're great.
We're all busy at the moment trying to get ready for shows. Okay, so mentioned networking. Part of the great thing about shows is the opportunity to network. So, you know, we are there to sell, but also you might be looking for new suppliers. Trust me, if you've got a stand, lots of new suppliers are going to come and talk to you and sell you anything and everything. Service providers, people like me are going to be there. Joanna will be there. Think about who you want to meet. And if you want to meet people, again, you know, either drop them an email or link in with them. LinkedIn is just so easy. You just link in and say, I'm going to be there. This is my stand number. It'd be really great to see you. They all provide you with ready-made little content sheets. So put those out on social media. Make sure maybe you've invited people 2 or 3 times so that they really know who you are. Send them some really good stuff though. Don't just go, come and see me. Give them a reason, a targeted reason to come and see you. And also I think there is an opportunity with the show software to book meetings. I'm not showing at NOPI, so I don't know how you do it, but I'm sure it's relatively straightforward. And then when you're at the show, even if you're not exhibiting, you know, it's free to go to the seminars. So, you know, there'll be some interesting people speaking. I've put some examples of things that I thought were quite interesting, and also a plug for my own talk, which
definitely worth going to.
Thank you. Things. I mean, what a great title. Menopause is the new vegan. I love that. I was just like, wow, that's just such an, I'm going to have to go to that talk. I'm going to be there for 2 days. If you want to come and meet me, I'm there for 2 days. Actually, I might have to do it. I should be there for 2 days. I'm certainly there on the Sunday. Go and have a look at different stands. If you're showing, think about who would you like to collaborate with? Who would you like to do an Instagram competition with? Who would you like to do a combined campaign with? Who would you like to go in for a meal deal with? Lots of different opportunities. Go meet people, and ask the NOPI team for help with intros as well. You know, don't just feel you've got to sort of do it all yourself, because that's what they're there for. And yeah, as I say, go learn. And
I think all shows, you know, the marketing, the PR people, as you say, the teams are always keen to maximize, you know, for you on your behalf to make sure that you come back the next year. So they will try really hard to help you. So absolutely ask them. And then on to the perseverance bit that we were talking about earlier. And again, Karen mentioned it. If you are exhibiting, you know, sometimes people would charge you for, you know, the scanners, but it's well worth it in our view. And then just make sure you do the follow-up, because you know, you don't want to be the last one. You don't want to be writing, oh, it was so nice to meet you a month ago. You know, these people will have moved on. And if somebody's quicker than you at getting in with their great pitch or their idea, then, you know, you are going to look slightly old, even, you know, even just being that late. So if you could make contact within a week, making sure, again, Karen's mentioned a bit, make it tailored and personal. So trying to remember who they were, what you talked about. Even if you didn't get to see people, you know, I'm really sorry I didn't get to see you at NOPI, you know, with people that maybe reached out with before, but to follow it up with something meaningful. So, you know, a call to action, it, you know, could be when you're next visiting. If you're international, they realize that you're not here all the time, you know, but I'll be over again, you know, next month or whatever, making sure it's not in 6 months' time, because again, you wouldn't sound suitably relevant. And then think about how you can keep in touch from then on in for the 2.5 years, you know, from the one extreme to the other, as Karen mentioned. You've got to keep front of mind, and that's where, obviously that's the job we do, but you can do yourselves, the social, it could be a bit of research that you do, anything that shows that you are, you know, really committed to the UK market and that you are doing well, and your brand should be the brand that they should stock. So, well, I was going to say never give up on it. I do think there probably does come a point where you know, you do give up on it, but I think everyone says you give up too early. So, you know, keep going for a very long time, because it may just be that you're hitting them at the wrong time. The range reviews, you know, their timing in the year is not necessarily going to fit with yours. So do keep talking to them and keep those conversations going, because once you've made that contact, make sure you nurture it really. Were you going to say something? Sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say about the breakup, my favorite thing, the breakup email. So
yeah,
if you've been, you know, sharing some news, staying in touch, and if you think about, I mentioned we took 2.5 years to do something. I'm not sure we did use the breakup email with that one actually, but I have used it recently with a couple of clients and just said, look, not heard from you. I'm assuming, you know, I can't remember the actual wording. And again, if you want the wording, because it's quite clever the way it's done, and that's not me who's written it, by the way, it's from HubSpot, and they have some really great ideas on this subject. What it does is you can do it in lots of different ways, but you're basically creating a way of getting a response. So some people will come back to you and go, oh, hang on, no, it's not that, it's just this, or I'm not reviewing it at the moment. And then you can go, well, when are you reviewing it? When is your day? And then you can say, I'll be back with you, I'll come back to you in 6 months' time. So you're creating a reason to go back to that person, so you can keep the momentum going. And then, as you rightly say, just keep sharing as stuff happens. You know, you win another award, you go, I just won another award, we've just got a listing here. And so it goes on until they block you. I've never been blocked. They're not that harsh. They don't do that.
No, they're not. So we're just going to finish up and then have a little time for questions. So just a brief sort of why you might want to get in touch with either or both of us, and we're really happy to hear from you. But Karen, you.
So
I
do have a new book coming out, and people are starting to say, we know you've got a new book coming out, so the marketing's obviously working. This QR code will click you through to Amazon. If you want to talk to me about anything else, so the whole point of the book is know your buyer, sell more and sell better. So all that work that we've talked about the research, understanding who you want to sell to, and then kind of applied biology. So how do you actually go through that selling process? That's there. It's on Amazon at the moment for 99p. As we're building up to the launch, it actually launches on the 20th of March. So you will get your copy then. And there will be a paperback copy also once I've uploaded the data after this show.
And we can get it signed by you at
yes, I will have copies to sign at the show. So yes, it's well worth a look.
Brilliant, thank you. And yeah, from our point of view, again, similar to Karen, we've got loads of information that we're very happy to share with you, case studies of what we've done for other brands, which always, I think one of the things that Karen and I have been saying throughout is, you know, whatever you can do from finding out from what other people do is super useful. Borrow with pride, I think, is the right expression. So learn from what other people are doing and then do it yourselves, and maybe do it better. So we're always very happy to meet companies, whatever stage you are of market entry, even if it's really far out and you're just thinking about things. So thank you very much for coming, and very happy. I think we've got one of my colleagues who's going to let us know about any questions that were put in the chat or in the Q&A session.
Yes, so we have a question which says, thank you for the insights. My business provides premium sustainable journals. Is Nopi a good place to exhibit? I saw Harrods being one relevant buyer from your list.
Journals, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I think they would be interesting, actually. I mean, the obvious one would probably be something like the Spring Fair for you, or maybe even Ideal Home. But I think Nopi is going to have the right people, because, you know, one of the things that I'm talking about in terms of growing retail sales is how do these, especially the health stores, build their sales? What can they sell that's incremental? And something like a premium sustainable journal could be very interesting. And yeah, I mean, Harrods is a very interesting business, but don't sort of keep yourself just to Harrods, because there are so many other options that could be relevant. But it's certainly worth reaching out and asking them and having a look at the cost, because I think the launch pad is about £1,400. So I don't know whether they've got any deals, last minute deals. They've certainly got a little bit of space when I last looked.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. Hi, any little nuggets on how to get hold of the right buyer name at the likes of Sainsbury's and Ocado, as they seem to change so often?
It's the universal question, isn't it? Again, try using LinkedIn. Some of the Ocado buyers are really good at putting down what sections they are buying. Others aren't so good, and you're absolutely right, Ocado are particularly bad at changing buyers over very quickly. I would really recommend starting to work your network. So reach out to me, reach out to there's a guy called Gavin McLean who does quite a lot of probably what I call more proactive selling than I do. I do more mentoring, he does more selling. Between the two of us, we probably know someone who knows somebody, and I think that's the way you can narrow it down. The problem is so many categories, you know, I'm researching one category at the moment, so I know that quite well, but you know, just give it 6 months and it will all have changed. So LinkedIn and network are my two.
And I think the other one I would add on to that is looking at, you know, the trade media, because you will find these buyers, or the national press, you will find these buyers talking about you know, what they're looking for at the moment, you know, why they're expanding their organic range. So actually you can find them, quite a lot of them will be on record talking about what they're trying to do for their brand, whether it's, you know, on their own sites as well, on their corporate sites, as well as in the media. So yeah, it is just research, but they will all change. It is true. They will change quite quickly.
And time for one final question, 2 minutes left. Why is it important to raise our profile when coming to the UK? Won't our presence at the Nopi show be enough?
Well, I'd say no. No. I mean, I'll say a few things and then Karen can join. I mean, it's the UK, you know, as I said earlier, brilliant market, so hugely competitive in the UK that you need to do a lot more than simply, and it's not that simple, but simply attend a show, which is a really good starting point. But everybody has short memories, and you know, if you're not, you know, if you're a brand that they see one day, but there'll be some other brand pitching to them the next day. If I use the analogy of the media and the journalists that we talk to, you know, they might be hearing from you know, 700 press releases a day about a new product or a new brand or whatever. So it's going to be super competitive, and trade shows are brilliant and we always recommend they do them, but no, definitely not the only thing you should do. It won't last long enough. It really won't keep you front of mind. What do you reckon, Karen, apart from no?
I think I go back to the 7-11 for thing that we talked about, which is around, you know, I'm not sure about 7 hours of content, but certainly touch somebody 11 times from 4 different media. This is one media, frankly. So you need to get them in some other spaces as well, whether that's social media, whether that's regular media, whether that's dropping them an email, and also don't forget actual physical mail. I often forget to bring this one up, but send people a letter. How many letters do we get? The only letters I get here in France are from the tax people, and they're always sending me horrible letters. So, you know, if you send someone a nice letter, might be worth it's worth a go. Obviously, if you're coming from overseas, it's not so easy, but yeah.
But actually, magazine, we do that for our clients, where you've got a nice piece of coverage in a magazine, you know, just to highlight the page it's on and send it with a letter saying, you know, you can see we're engaging and you know, getting some great reviews and things that can help. So yeah, I think we've just run out of time. So thank you all very, very much for coming. As Karen says, do get in touch with either of us, both of us. Go along, see Karen at NoP and look at her book. But we're here all the time and always working behind the scenes. So you know, do get in touch with any of us when you want. We'd be really delighted if we can help you. We'd be really delighted to do so. So thank you very much, and we'll let you know. We'll send you all an email telling you where the recording is, so you can watch again if you need to go back and listen to anything. So thanks very much, everybody, and
everybody.
Good rest of the day.
Great session. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.